The person who's earning 20,000 rupees, 40,000 rupees, uske paise kyun cut kar rahe ho? I love how bosses turn around and talk about passion and sense of adventure. I'm like, show me your pay packet, yeah. Then I will figure. I don't feel it's empathy to turn around and ask your colleague कि तूने खाना खाया है कि नहीं. I think these are fake things. Real empathy is when you do your work really well and make sure that people that you work with don't have to carry your burden.
Working 9 to 5 was a man's thing. Now women needed to prove their point. They already came into a structured environment which was made by men for men.
This entire idea that women cannot be friends, there is inherent politics between women when they come together because of this, that, and the other. These are all constructs to make sure that this coming together of women doesn't happen. Can I today tell my niece that, if there is a dangerous situation, you should stand there and fight? No. My advice to her is run. Okay? Run for your life.
Hello everyone, welcome to Decoding Quirks. I'm your host Aditi, and today's guest is a curator, a creator, a producer, brand strategist, and today we're just going to be decoding life as a woman. Welcome Smriti Kiran.
And they were two different things, and I was like, okay, consciously I have to stop using terms that are thrown our way without actually checking what they mean and what the context is. I am the behind the scenes person.
Wow.
That is what I truly enjoy. And if there was any way to get spotlight while you were cleaning the lens, I would be happy to get that.
But who doesn't like validation, yeah? Everyone likes
Everyone
it.
likes validation. I mean, just the very fact, and I know we were laughing about it the other day, and it was sweet because I was like, no matter what caption I put, okay, no matter what I say, if I have posted a picture of mine on Instagram, it is validation.
It's
You're looking for
validation.
validation. Okay.
It's validation. Otherwise, why would you put that filter? Why will you crop the picture? Why will you straighten it? Eventually, you're doing it because, yeah, you like it, but you also like the validation that comes along with it.
And also, I have like a secret.
You have a Finsta.
No. No, not at all. I do my stalking from my own handle. So I have like a secret marker of getting to know whether my picture is hot or not. And so, see, the thing is, girls are lovely and they're very generous. So I post a picture, and then girls would be like looking hot and amazing and oof, and there'll be a fire sign, and I'm like, okay, great, whatever. But if two guys, like relevant guys, not just random Joes, if they go out of their way to like that or put a fire sign, I'm like, okay, bingo, this goes up on my hinge.
I love that.
I'm like, the boys have made an effort. Right?
Yes.
They've come out and kind of told you that this picture is hot or nice, which doesn't mean that I lay more emphasis on what a man is saying. But the thing is, because I'm heterosexual, that is the TG I'm dealing with.
fair.
So I'm like, oh, if that is appealing to the roster of people that I'm speaking to, then I will take their opinion into consideration
Yeah.
and kind of go with that. Yeah.
But talking about Hinge, is it tough to be like, single, divorced, independent, and dating again?
I think when I re-entered single life, I re-entered single life after a very long time.
How long?
So I would say about a decade.
Oh, okay.
And it was very scary because, I mean, I wasn't planning to enter single life. So there was no plan there. And the second thing was when you've not dated, also the rules of engagement keep changing with every decade. Right? And now
100%.
it's even happening faster. There are so many terms for so many different things. And also, I'm kind of grateful also that there are terms that exist because there are many kinds of relationships that have started to get acknowledged now. Right? When I was newly single, I didn't have the vocabulary to communicate that I'm not looking to get married. I'm not looking for a serious relationship. But then I'm also, so, I would tell my friends, they would be like, don't worry. You'll feel better. And I'm like, I'm already feeling better. I just don't want to be in something where I want to cruise along, I would say. They were like, oh, you want a casual relationship? I said, no, that's not what I'm saying. I want to cruise along, which means that I don't want to burden any relationship that I get into with questions of longevity, permanence, where are we headed. I wanted to have fun, which obviously got interpreted to you're down to fuck. And I was like, that's not what I mean. So there was no term for what I wanted.
Got
So
it.
I used to launch into a paragraph. Anytime anybody asked me anything, I was like, this is a very clumsy explanation. Because what do you call companionship? What do you call watching a movie with somebody without asking them, these really tough questions? Where are we with each other? I'm like, I don't want to ask those questions. I am actually fine spending time with somebody that I find attractive. And we can spend time together without it becoming burdensome, without us heading towards a destination. Why can't we just spend time together because we like the journey?
But is it okay for women to like just spend time together?
Women who just want to cruise along, the men get very hassled with that. She's not
What?
serious about me. How come? I'm like,
What?
Arey, I'm your dream girlfriend. Like, what is this? I thought that I'm not putting any pressure on you.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely fine. I think the problem is that we are wired and conditioned for permanence, right? Nobody's actually sat down and told us that things which are of value and which add tremendously to your life can actually also be impermanent. I feel liberated that there are people who are accepting of so many complicated sort of arrangements which people were not open to because things were very binary, or there were only three kinds of things that existed that you kind of needed to follow. And if you weren't, you were an oddity. But today, at least that's gone away,
But
right?
has that caused more problems?
I mean, not for me.
Yeah.
It's not caused problems for me, and I feel that if we were to become a little more self-aware, uh, we would be able to. We are so scared of being cheated on, of someone that we love falling out of love with us, for somebody hurting us, right? There is so much pressure for us to just say, "Oh, I'm fine. Nothing is." I was on a play. I'm digressing a little bit. I was traveling with a friend of mine, and I think somebody had hurt me. I don't think it was romantic hurt, but I think I was feeling hurt. But I was talking to her. I wanted to unpack this with her, but I was telling her, I said, I don't care. And yeah, it was fine. But then this happened. And she told me, she says, wait, 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 wait. Stop for 5 seconds. And I stopped and she said, just take a deep breath and just say you're hurt. And I was very shocked that she said that. So I said, but she said, no, Smriti, just say that you're hurt. Somebody found that little gap, and now that arrow that was fired has gone inside and hit, a raw nerve, and you're hurt. And if we start from there, we can unpack this and we can talk about, what you're feeling about this, and it's fine. Don't be you don't have to be invincible all the time. And it was so relieving to be able to just say that, shit, I'm feeling really hurt.
It's so interesting you say that because, when you said that, oh, I was hurt, very often in my sessions with my clients, sometimes they're just like over justifying their emotions. You know what, this happened with my mom, but it's okay. And that happened with my sister, that time it's okay. This happened with my boyfriend, it's okay. And I'm like, who are you saying it's okay to? Why do we constantly need to say it's okay, it's okay, it's okay? Why are we constantly justifying our feelings and our emotions? Why can't we just say, this sucks? Today sucks. I hate what happened to me. The moment we accept it, it loses its power. Right? The situation, that bad moment loses its power. The more we justify it, the more what ifs come, and we're kind of rejecting our own acceptance in our head. And that makes it worse to what you said, be vulnerable. Because being vulnerable seems like you're weak, you look like you failed, it didn't work. and we're constantly in competition with each other, right? And I think one of the biggest takeaway of what you said was there was also a woman doing that, right? Being vulnerable with a set of women. Oh my God, that's so therapeutic. That's so healing in its own way. So, has there like I know that you've like worked with a lot of like females and female led companies, female led organizations. How was that different to like, men being in the scenario?
Like, even in my friend circle, the second call that I would make in distress is to a male friend of mine.
Oh,
In fact, I know there is a need, and I say this, and I'm the biggest champion of women coming together and doing this, but I also feel that men need to be part of that conversation. You cannot, they don't know this as yet, but they also are suffering because of patriarchy.
they are.
Every time the conversation is reduced to, but do you see men as enemies? I'm like, why would that be your starting point of this conversation? So I feel that is also done to thwart this conversation. For me, men and women are equally inspiring, but I feel that female friendships in my life have given me such a space to thrive and to feel that there is solidarity of experience, of being heard, of being seen, and this entire idea that women cannot be friends, and there is inherent politics between women when they come together because of this, that, and the other. These are all constructs that have been created to make sure that this coming together of women doesn't happen, because when it does happen, it makes you feel so empowered. And there is a it's like building a fort around yourself, right? And you start to see things very differently, and I think patriarchal structures don't want you to see those things, right?
Such a power it gives you.
See, nobody understands that it's equality that you're fighting for. You don't want to be the same.
Yeah.
And I want to be romanced, but just because of the fact that I want equal rights, that doesn't mean that नहीं नहीं इनको flaws नहीं चाहिए, इनके लिए दरवाजा मत खोलना. I'm like, no, please open the door for me. But please do that. But this is what I'm saying, that the thwarting of any conversation around equality, any conversation that is nuanced, is so hard that I find it strange that people are not able to see that this is a tactic, and this is a masking tactic, so that we don't really see, we don't really actually talk about the real problems. And I've said this often enough that, if men want, this problem can go away.
Easily.
It can be solved overnight.
Yeah.
But, to want equality by a person who's enjoying a certain kind of power is a tall ask, So maybe therein lies the problem.
There was this time back when I was like 22, 23, so a while back. We were two women managing the entire branch. We had like this office. And every time my GM would tell me, I'm so scared to keep two women together. Two women will fight together. And he was just so, and obviously between her and me also, we had a huge age gap. But every time he would come back, every few months, he'd be like, I'm surprised there hasn't been a fight yet. And like he would tell this to us directly. And he's like, why do you have a problem with us getting along so much? Right? What is your real goal here? And obviously I was so young, I would just laugh it off, be like, haha, we are so good. We're better than all the other branches. And now when I've grown up, I'm like, dude, that was a disgusting statement. Like I hope you never do this again. But yeah, I think that's how we look at it, right? We look at two women together and be like, they should fight. They should not get along. Because that way the man has some control, has some power in like dealing with the situation. If two women got along, we don't need that person.
I think women-led organizations become a little more, not a little more, a lot more cognizant of what women need, right? Uh, Simple things. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen in organizations that are led by men, but the very fact that there is a need for women's safety. I mean, look at the world. I also want to stay back till 4 in the morning and go on my own and not really care about like a person accompanying me. But it's not my problem that, I have to constantly be alert because I can be in real physical danger.
Yeah.
And that is not going to get solved by taking karate classes.
Yeah.
We say women need to be in the writing room because then they will be able to create an authentic experience of the female character that is being portrayed.
Working 9 to 5 was a man's thing. It was a man living in the corporate world who was working 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5 was not meant for women. Now women needed to prove their point, so they came into this scene, right? They needed to like be financially stable. They needed to, so they already came into a structured environment which was made by men for men. And now working 9 to 5 is not like we need that break, we need to eat. Like men can intermittent fast. Research has shown that. That same research has been thapoed on women also, be like, if men can do it, you can do it. But no, intermittent fasting is not meant for us. Working 9 to 5 was not meant for us. So with female led organizations, what I have seen is that they cater to how women need to work. Work from 11 to 3, take your 3 to 5, work your 5 to 7, and you're getting your work done so well, right? Because you also understand that we have other responsibilities, because we have also had other responsibilities for years. We are generally those people. Like even before this podcast, I saw you called your dad, you called your mom, you organized everything, you did it all, right? Because even though you're working a 9 to 5, you still got to do it, right? So it's about creating that space, it's about creating that time, and it's about saying that, you know what, I can work these hours, I have to do like ghar ka kaam, I have to like take care of my parents. And it's so beautiful when you have that space and that space is created. It feels very empowering, it feels like I can achieve more. And I don't know how that is. I mean, I've seen it in my side, in my area, but how is it in the industry, in the film industry and all? Like, do they give women space? Do they give space to grow? How have you seen it behind the camera?
It's a shit show. Yeah, because the thing is, it's of course worse for women, but nobody is given space to do anything. We glorify sleep deprivation. We glorify terrible working hours. We glorify terrible working conditions. Like I'm myself an older person, but you will never find me telling someone that, हमारे टाइम में हम लोग तो बस एक ही ब्रेक मिलता था हमें, हम ये करते थे। क्यों मिलता था? तुम एक्सप्लॉइटेड हो, तुम क्यों एक्सप्लॉइट कर रहे हो किसी और को? इफ दे हैव अ बेटर लाइफ, the other thing that people do is when they're starting out in their career, they keep on cribbing about how unjust the world is. ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है, I'm getting exploited, this is happening, people are not paying me. But the moment they come into power, they do the same things. हम लोग कहीं भी जाते हैं, हम बस चाय पे चर्चा करनी शुरू कर देते हैं, बिचिंग शुरू हो जाती है. It's like, काम तो कर लो
This
पहले.
is what you're getting paid for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, okay, you're a person, you're not resourceful, you're not even driven, but you're getting paid, so at least do the basic minimum. Don't be that person who does extra. मत करो. But तुम एक salary ले रहे हो.
Yeah.
I don't feel it's empathy to turn around and ask your colleague कि तूने खाना खाया है कि नहीं, are you this thing? I think these are fake things. I think real empathy is when you do your work really well and make sure that people that you work with don't have to carry your burden. That there are 10 people working in a team. If everybody did their job, that is empathy enough. सब लोग घर पे टाइम से चले जाएंगे. किसी को किसी के लिए एक्स्ट्रा काम नहीं करना पड़ेगा. That is real showing up. And not these questions कि अच्छा, have you eaten? And
I love that.
God,
I love
she's a bitch, he's a bastard, they are doing this to you, they're exploiting you, your talent. I'm like, बस करो, काम करो और बाहर जाओ and live your life.
This is work-life balance.
Yeah.
No, I fully
But
get that.
there are also practices. Our work practices are really short to shit. You're creating managers who are driven insane by the kind of demands you have. Like half the people are not looking at it. They are passing on trauma to everybody else that they're working with, right? Um, Accountability is not there, right? I have been the perpetrator and also the victim of all of this. I can tell you this because I have done shit, and I can tell you this because I've taken shit, right?
Yeah.
So, therefore, I feel that this entire thing of saying passion and drive and justifying justifying toxic work thingy, like work practices, and qualifying them as that is not true.
Yeah,
Passion should be voluntary.
absolutely.
If you're imposing a certain kind of, uh, you know, uh, work culture on somebody else and expecting everybody to show up the same way, then that is not passion. That is just you being autocratic and wanting to make more money. And also, I love how bosses turn around and talk about passion and sense of adventure. I'm like, show me your pay packet, yeah. Then I will figure. You're telling a person who's incapable of paying his rent or her rent, and people who need to really actually who need the raises and the money at that time, you take a pay cut, yeah. Because to you it'll be like a couple of lakhs here and there. But the person who's earning 20,000 rupees, 40,000 rupees, uske paise kyun cut kar rahe ho?
True.
Like, look at the layoffs that are happening. The people who were in decision making positions who did really stupid shit, because of which we are in the shape we are today, they are not the ones losing their jobs. It's middle management, lower management. Those are the people you're cutting off, but they had nothing to do with the condition that we are in. I mean, you're paying the staff of the Star the kind of money that you're paying, but the crew that is delivering it for you, from the cinematographers to the gaffers to everybody who's on the set, please go and look at how that film schedule is made. That there'll be a 1 day break after 7 days or 6 days, and there also, see, if suppose both of us are actors, right? And this is the
Yeah.
team that is directing you, and everybody else is working. It's a full village at work. Once the scene is over, we'll go. Right? We'll go away. We might be preparing for the next day and all of that and everything. But it takes at least 5 hours for everybody else to wind down,
Yeah.
right? And then you have to start early because you have to set up before everybody comes in. So you tell me, how is 1 day off, and how is that day going to be structured? And in India, I don't know whether it's happened now or not, but when people are shooting outside, you should see even Indian crews. They're like, they know when they're shooting with people from outside, they're like, oh my God, this person will take overtime. We have to shoot fast, we have to do this. But जो इंडियन बंदा है उसको तो तुमने निचोड़ दिया है, उसकी तो जान ले लिया तुमने, क्योंकि ना तुम ओवर टाइम दे रहे हो, ना तुम देख रहे हो कि क्या वक्त हो रहा है. But otherwise, it's like, he's so passionate, like this director is so passionate. He slapped his. I'm like, he's not passionate. He's an ass.
Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks.
And God forbid if you're a woman and you're doing the same things that men are glorified for. I know so many directors and so many people who've slapped people, who've been rude to people, thrown things at people, laptops and this, that, and the other. Asked for things at the last minute, but oh my God, they're creative geniuses. But if you're a woman who does the same thing, or even like 1/4 of the same thing, she's a bitch.
Very demanding.
Very demanding.
So difficult.
Unreasonable.
So difficult.
She's not married now. Doesn't have a family. She's very sad. She needs to get laid.
Our judgments are so clouded by everyone's opinion that somewhere we need to have our armor up, our guards up. But doesn't it get tiring for me constantly? Like, I know, I mean, my mom yesterday had come to me and told me that every post of yours is so feminist. Like, why are you so angry all the time? Isn't it exhausting? And I'm like, you know what? It is. I'm tired sometimes of just standing up for the values that I want to inculcate in my life. I get tired if I have to fight 4 fights. There will be a day I'm so exhausted that I'm fighting one. Have I given away those other three? No. I just need to take a break because I'm fighting all the time. And it is very fucking tiring. So, is it tiring for you?
The exhaustion is not there. For me, it's a matter of wonderment. The rage is there. There's a lot of rage because it's completely, I mean, the injustice um, and the temerity of people to kind of like just push this under the carpet, and the tone deafness and how blind people are to this, that it eggs me on to do extra. Just think about a very typical male female equation. Okay, the man is going out there and earning, and the woman is at home taking care of everything else, right? If the man had a brain, and many men do have brains, to understand what the woman brings to the table, he's going to be fully cooperative because he can do what he can do because the woman is doing what she's doing at home.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody was doing that for me, I would be like, your God. Just stay with
100%.
me and tell me
100%.
what I can do to make you happy and keep you happy, So I find it strange that you would fuck with that. Like,
It's too easy.
why
At
would
the,
you do
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
It was very much about producing kids and taking care of the human baby that is not capable of taking care of itself, and keeping the property in the house, right? Figuring out a social construct. It was more a social construct than companionship. I mean, we keep talking about love and companionship and partnership and this, that, and the other, but this version of marriage is not based on that, right? That is why that is why men feel emasculated when a woman is taking care of them. I'm like, तुम भी ख्याल रख लेना यार, तुम्हारी बारी भी आएगी,
So
but
true.
हमें भी रखने दो.
So true.
So, but we've made it like that,
Hmm.
right? That's why suddenly, if the woman is earning more than a man, or if a woman is the one earning and the man is not earning for a little while, suddenly there is an identity loss,
Agree.
and that is very sad.
Exactly. It can't be only one sided, no?
Yeah, it doesn't make
It
sense.
switches, the roles switch, and if you're okay with that, you should be okay with that.
We've been not taught to have any uncomfortable conversations. We are not taught how to break up with people, how to tell people that we don't want to be with them.
The conflict.
The conflict, the destruction, the cruelty, the way people talk to each other, the way people behave with each other, it
I
is
agree.
ridiculous. You know why? Because you don't know how to do this.
Yeah, no one has taught you that it can
Nobody has
actually.
taught you how to do this.
It can actually just be clean and easy. You don't have to hate
It-
the person.
See, I have to say, it'll never be clean and easy.
No, in the sense where it can lead up to being clean and easy. The journey might not be. The end result can be clean. But we are also taught to have that rage and hatred because it's easier for us to get over that person. The rage and hatred is not for the other person, it's for you. And now, because of that, the byproducts of the rage and hatred have created so many other problems which you were not ready for. This way also you're not ready, that way also you're not ready.
Yeah.
And that's what causes more issues. And then we do more destructive shit to cover up all the byproducts that come from the rage.
Yeah.
And if honestly, it's kind of like, it's sad, as you said, that we have not been taught how to get out of a relationship, how to say no to people, how to say that, bro, this is not working for me anymore. But you need to understand it first, then you need to be aware of it, then you need to convey it and to communicate that. None of these 3 steps have been taught to us.
Also, boundaries. Like, when we talk about boundaries, I would turn around and say that more than laying down boundaries for other people, you also have to look at how you respond to boundaries.
I have this interesting theory about boundaries where it's like, and this is a common friend of ours as well, that I've seen like when women lay down boundaries, they obviously they will like they'll be able to say no better, right? But when you're laying down that boundary, are you also refusing some form of love which you weren't ready to accept? Like people who have lesser boundaries, they get a lot of shit for sure, but they also get a lot of love, and a love in a very unexpected way where it's like, oh, I didn't get that. I didn't get that feedback. I didn't get that love. But I've also, because the boundaries that, so there are byproducts of that as well. There are pros and cons of laying down your boundary as well. Sometimes when you're laying down boundary where you're keeping negativity at an arm's distance, you're also sometimes keeping love at an arm's distance.
I would disagree a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because the thing is, I'm a recovering people pleaser,
Love it.
right? And recovering doormat, as
I
I
love
would
that.
turn around and say that. So I'm not saying that the love I get is not genuine, but I would get a lot of love as a nice person.
Yeah.
Okay. She's really nice. Lot of love because I'm doing everything that works for people.
Yeah.
If I do things that you like, of course you'll like me.
Of
Of
course.
course, there's a lot of love that's gonna come my way.
100%.
But when I stop doing that and I start to actually do what I want to do, there would be a little bit of standing up for myself, which doesn't mean that I have to be everything that I was doing was fake and now I'm standing up for myself. So I become this person who's completely unpalatable. But I've also found my voice, right? And when you assert yourself a little bit, you're not saying yes to everything that the other person is saying yes to, right?
Yeah. So you're saying the byproduct of that love that you're
Yeah.
rejecting or not receiving
Yeah.
was not really worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. Okay. Got it.
What is, because it'll make you resentful.
Yeah. So we had spoken about the movie Control, and my biggest thing was the way you had said at the end is that we loved the way the movie was made, everything was really nice. But how do I explain this ending to my niece, who is much younger now and going through this entire experience? Like explaining all of this to a younger person. The ending, the mainly, because it felt like she won, but it also felt like a massive loss.
So my first level of, the first thing was to get her interested in watching it. So my mother and I put it on. And the moment the film started, I could see, I mean, she was pretending that I'm not watching. But 5 minutes into the film, she was like this, right? And she was really invested. And at that point of time, I had an epiphany because I said, oh my God, she is going to watch this whole thing now and she is going to feel discouraged because Ananya's character, because of what happens to Ananya's character and what happens in the film. So I spent a whole hour thinking about how I will frame this for her, because what I didn't want to do is tell a younger person not to fight. And it ended and everything. And, she was quiet for a little while and then she turned around and she said, Bua, but she never fought those guys. I mean, something should have happened. So I said, something should have happened. And I said, she could have gone in that direction. But I said, see, she weighed her options and she's 24. And she decided that right now is not the time for me to do this. So she did a smarter thing, got out of that situation alive, made sure that her money is intact, went back home so that she's in a safe space. And now she's going to start building her life and maybe making different choices. And maybe one day there is going to come a time where she will be enabled enough and have the right tools to fight injustice.
Yeah, without realizing that we're not equipped to go all in. But that it might look like a failure to the other person, but it's not.
But it's not a failure.
It's just a break. It's just a transit. It's just a,
Yeah.
I need to gather myself in this moment. So what's sometimes very upsetting is that when women experience this, no, when women experience a certain break or like a divorce or a loss or like I didn't win this case, it feels like a failure because we are constantly being told by other people also, like we have so many limitations around as well. So sometimes it feels like a failure, but it's not, like very rightly said. It's just that she's learning to equip herself to then deal with the bigger problems that life is 100% going to throw.
Can I today tell my niece that, if there is a dangerous situation, you should stand there and fight? No. My advice to her is run. Okay? Run for your life and find the first person or first place where
You feel
you can
safe.
be safe and you can figure this out, because you've got to be alive, right? You've got to stay unharmed,
Yeah.
right? So you have to equip people with smarter choices. Smarter choices are not weak choices.
Lovely. Okay, coming back to what we were discussing earlier on our call is the Me Too movement. What has happened with the Me Too movement and why did it lose steam? Like, why aren't people still talking about it? Any repercussions to the men, any repercussions to the women?
The one good thing that has come out of the Me Too movement, actually, there are many good things that have come out. It's just that dissing the Me Too movement is also a way to kind of invalidate it, that it didn't do anything. It might not have done the monumental things that we would have all liked for it to have done. But the very fact that the movement happened, it created a lot of awareness. It also got women to question a lot of their own patterns, right? It's not as if we are fully aware of the way that we've been thwarted. So I started to, not only me, I mean, all women across the world, I think all of us began to question many, many things and became aware of the ways in which we've been, where injustice has happened. It looks like nothing has happened because legally, for things to happen, it's going to take a very long time. I think it's a systemic failure and it's not a failure on the part of women. I like the way the Me Too movement being called a failure, which I think is a false construct. It has also fallen upon us only.
Yeah.
Like, we are the survivors, but suddenly it's our failure.
Yeah. Now
कि
you
मीटू
figure
का
it.
क्या हो रहा है, कुछ हुआ नहीं ना मीटू का. सो माई होल थिंग इज दैट एक्चुअली अगर मीटू का कुछ नहीं हुआ है तो इट्स अ फेलियर ऑन एवरीबडीज पार्ट. एवरीबडी शुड पार्टेक ऑफ दैट, राइट? इट्स नॉट दैट विमेन हैव फेल्ड.
But where are the men who got blamed about this?
So
What is happening
nothing.
to them?
See, basically the thing is they're leading quieter lives. Not some of, like, some of them are not. They're still getting work and they're still powerful. But having said that, the conversations are happening, right? There are production houses that have to put the posh guidelines into effect. IC, which is the internal committee, एक तो पॉश पढ़ा लोगों ने जो
Yeah.
पहले किसी ने नहीं पढ़ा था, including me. So therefore I feel that the awareness, the
Yeah.
fact that certain things have come into play, for more things to happen, it'll take more effort, it'll take more time. But to call it a failure, I think is skewed. I feel that women will have to make equality and safety and awareness of harassment their priority for this to work. Othering this movement and saying, oh, but this guy didn't behave like this with me, or I have never faced this, is the dumbest thing that I've heard. I don't even know why people talk like this. Also, a lot of very popular, strong people say, I'm not a feminist, yeah. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. Like, I don't
So,
relate.
I
don't
really,
relate.
really would love it if people were to educate themselves and people were to become very aware of the fact that just because something has not happened to you,
Doesn't mean that it's
no,
safe.
it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and doesn't mean that it's not going to happen to you, because
Yeah.
life changes in 10 seconds.
If you could give one piece of advice to a 22-year-old entering the film industry, entering media, what would be your advice?
I'm very tempted to say be yourself.
But don't.
But don't, please say no. I would just say that put your head down and work. Silently learn the ropes. Do your work. Be patient. Don't be in a hurry. Nothing is changing. Nothing. You're not. Don't be in a rush. There is no rush. There is a difference between boredom and stagnation. You could be doing something that you feel deeply bored with, but that is part of the process. Everything becomes boring after a point of time, but it's the magic is in boring things. You are going to really become good at what you do when you start to get bored. Stagnation is completely different. Stagnation is when you have nothing to learn. So understand the difference. I have a lot of people who come up to me after 6 months and say, I'm done with this. I want to do this. I'm like, 6 mahine hue hain. Kaam kar lo pehle. So learn as much as you can, experience different things, dedicate the first 5 years of your career to just figuring shit out. Keep quiet, stay patient, and then figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
I just see no one doing this.
But the Gen Z culture is a very jump, right?
See, jumping is not the problem.
No, jumping like to the next position immediately. Like not jumping like, it's just like, okay, I'm done. I've done 5 projects. I've excelled. Now,
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
Like even I have seen that happening.
See, I also feel what happens is the culture is also dictated by what is being said out there.
Okay.
There is so much exposure to everybody's life that somebody who's 22 or 25 or 26 is looking at somebody who's 40 and feeling like they're incapable. I'm like, that person is 40. They've spent 20 years or 25 years doing this. So comparing yourself to somebody who's put in the work or who's lived those many years and walked the earth and navigated a professional life is doing great injustice to yourself, because give yourself time,
Got it.
and you'll get there. And not get there, you'll be better.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the sheer age that you're born in. Look at the equipment in terms of just the kind of things that you have and the kind of things that you can do. You'll have a better trajectory than anybody that you admire if you were just to understand where you are and the value of putting in the work.
Yeah. We have not spoken about dating. And I also want to know, as a single woman, independent woman, and someone who has had a divorce, how is dating in this 2025 era? Where you have the apps, where you have the labels, where you have all of it. How is it empowering or is it demotivating?
Like, I'm not thinking कि ये अच्छा father होगा कि नहीं, will he be a good husband? Those are not things. I'm actually now just looking at the human being.
Yeah.
So for me, dating at this stage in my life, I feel very empowered and very free. Because I'm now not judging this person on criterias that society has decided to judge a person's worth on. I am actually looking at that person and thinking, do I like this person? Is this person driven? Because I like driven people. I like people who are interested in life, who are articulate, who are deep thinkers, who are fun.
Yeah.
Like happy people, because I am a happy person and I want a happy person in my life. So I'm now looking more in terms of whether I like this person or not. And I'm not standing there with a Varmala, or I'm not thinking, oh my God, where are we headed and what is going to happen? I'm like, I'm having way too much fun.
But then the men, can they, either they will reject the parameters or they'll accept the parameters, right? So how do they react to this when you are not judging the parameters?
So the thing is that very few make the cut, because half the people are caught up in, not because, oh, they're not good enough and I'm doing this like quality check. But it's also because of the fact that it's very difficult for people to process this lens on dating.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely.
Is it motivating when you have very few people not even understanding the concept?
See, I feel that what is demotivating is not finding enough people who are interesting enough, right?
Okay.
But when you find somebody who's interesting enough and you have a wavelength with that person, because you've divorced, actually, what you've divorced is all ideas of, what this person does, how old is this person earning this much or not, and all of that. Once you've let go of all of that and you do find someone interesting enough, what can happen is good conversations and an understanding of where two people are at, right? Now if that happens, it's great, because I am no longer interested in playing games कि अब ये text कितने बजे आया था, मैं कितने बजे text करूंगी, and this, that and the other. I have very slowly gained the confidence of picking up the phone and saying that, listen, you didn't text me. Are you not interested? Let me know, because, then we can kind of move on. It doesn't have to be like this. But I'm not going to wait and now assume that he didn't text me because of this, because of that. I'm like, no, I'll ask you.
Yeah.
Why didn't you text me?
Yeah.
Or I'll text.
And my last question now is, professionally or personally, what gives you hope right now in this stage of life?
When I used to be 22, I used to think people who are over 40 are dead. Oh
Fair.
my God, they're
Fair.
like really over the hill. God, they're like, what's going on with them? But the fact that I'm able bodied and alive, and, I have all my senses intact, that gives me hope. I mean, if you're alive, you can do anything. And again, I'm going to acknowledge my privilege, and I'm going to say that all of us here belong to that 1% that has a lot going for them. And I just feel that if you keep yourself open,
Yeah.
and don't trap yourself in ये इस एज पे नहीं हो सकता, वो उस एज पे नहीं हो सकता, ये नहीं कर सकते, वो नहीं कर सकते, you will keep moving. I don't even feel my age. I mean, I don't know what that means. Because when I turned 50 in December, I had a conversation with myself. I was like, bro, you've had a good life, for the last 25 years. Now you decide, do you want the same life or do you want to do something different? If you want to do something different, you will have to do some different things. So I knew the things that I want to continue to do, which have worked for me. And I wanted to change a few things that haven't worked for me. And I feel like maybe I should do things differently. And that is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But do I feel like I need to slow down? No, I don't feel any of that. I just feel that at the end of the day, if you're alive, it absolutely has scope for you to change any situation that is thrown your way.
So your hope is basically being alive and
My
being
hope
able.
is being
able.
alive, being able, because I mean, look at what is happening around us,
I love
Aditi.
that. Yeah.
Like, my point is, there's a genocide that is going on that the world is refusing to fucking acknowledge,
Yeah.
right? I mean, demonic monkeys are in charge of the world. There is literally, like, I'm speed living my life. I'm like, brother, तू कर ले जो तेको करना है, क्योंकि तेको नहीं पता ये कब खत्म होने वाला है. तो so YOLO has hit me because of what's going on. So that's why,
That's why making the most of it.
yeah.
I feel like this whole podcast has also been where you've said that, hey, I have made all these mistakes. I have
Yeah.
learned from all of this. Everything, like, you're like, oh, even if it was toxicity at work, even if it is like talking to people, even if it is like accepting my worth or not accepting my worth. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about it, where you're like, buddy, I've done it. I'm so glad that you were able to be this open. So glad you're able to own it. More than anything is just fucking own it, man.
Because nobody's looking.
No one's
You know,
looking.
we
No one's
only
judging
think,
this much.
We only think, oh my god, itna self-important. I'm like, it doesn't matter. You're a speck. No one cares. You
The
know,
three
like in
people
Jurassic.
who will watch the podcast.
No, but it's like Jurassic Park. Remember when that guy
Yeah.
comes and he says, Dobson's here, Dobson's here. Like, I love that because he's like, no one is looking at you enough. They're thinking about themselves.
True.
So, I mean, I also feel that if I've walked this earth for these many years, कोई तो फायदा होना चाहिए उसका.
100%.
थोड़ा तो wisdom आना चाहिए उससे.
So
If I'm
the
bothered about
YouTube
same
people over
things.
there, please get some wisdom from this conversation.
Aditi, thank you for asking me to do this. I've had such a great time and good coffee, and this is so comfortable. And it was
And this space is comfortable, right?
the space is comfortable,
Shout out.
everything is wonderful. And what I love about talking to you is that it was just so easy to talk to you. It was like sitting with a friend and just discussing things. I know we work out together, and it almost felt like we are just not. Niall is not driving us,
Crazy.
telling us to do really
One
uncomfortable
more rep,
things.
one more rep.
And we could have been at a coffee shop catching up for coffee, and we would have had the same conversation.
Yeah.
And so very, very glad that I was
Thank
able
you.
to do this with you.
Thank you for
And
coming. I'm so
Thank you
glad
for
that
having me.
I'm so glad that you accepted this and you're like, yes, let's do it. For all the women out there, we have to have this conversation.
We do. I completely agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you, guys.